All right, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you very much for joining. We're going to go ahead and get started. Appreciate your patience as we allowed people to join on. So my name is Brian Lammers. I'm with Powernet. We're very excited to talk about Fortinet SD-WAN today, and I'm joined by Jeff Jones. He's a systems engineer for Fortinet. So really excited about our partnership, which has been a number of years we've been working with Fortinet. And I think this will be very beneficial for you, and we'll get started here. We will have a giveaway at the end for Bluetooth earbuds. So anyone asking a question, you can put it in the chat box and we'll address those at the end. And then you can have a chance to win those nice set of earbuds. We will get started. So as I said, I'm Brian, Senior Sales Support Manager with Powernet. I basically work with Penny, Jason, and Nolan and comprise our channel team and really work with all of you on a day-to-day basis on opportunities, how we can solve problems for your clients. And, just trying, my real task is to kind of evangelize Powernet, why it is best to work with us and the teams we have internally, and really make sure projects go smoothly and proposals are put together, for you, so we can really put our best foot forward in the field to help your clients. Like I said, I'm joined by Jeff Jones today, systems engineer at Fortinet, and he'll be talking through the bulk of the Fortinet discussion. And then I'll come back in at the end, talk a little bit more about, how this relates specifically to our channel team and you out in the field. Real quick on Powernet as a company, most of you know, we've been in business almost 30 years, privately held, woman-owned, and we just have a tremendous a team. We started in telecom and have kind of expanded those products to cover almost all the technology in a business and enterprise environment. So really it comes down to the people, and you can get these solutions that we're going to talk about from multiple providers. So it really comes down to how we execute for you and for your clients, how the teams come together from a design, engineering, provisioning, and support functionality to really bring those projects and that vision, the vision your clients have for what they want their solution to look like, bring that to fruition. We do have a 24/7 US-based NOC. We have people in multiple locations, one in Florida, one in Cincinnati. So we have your clients covered from a support standpoint after the sale. Real quick product overview. We're going to drill down into Fortinet SD-WAN today. But like I said, our product suite through partnerships has really expanded throughout the years, and we can really come in to a business or enterprise environment and really kind of help them from a holistic standpoint with all the technology in the building and make it very simple for them, give them a single invoice, single point of contact, and really get to know the people in our service provisioning team. So we have very low turnover within our company as a whole. So really to develop those relationships so that revenue from the channel standpoint, continues, and we do renewals, and all that continues to grow to help you, succeed from a sales perspective. So we really try and package it all together, make it very clean for the end user, and we set the bar very high internally. So there's a few industries listed here that we've really seen success on, from an education standpoint, multi-dwelling units, and we've helped a lot of folks in these industries, with single problem solving or multiple problem solving based on the requirements they have. So today, like I said, we're going to go into the Fortinet SD-WAN. Really excited about Jeff joining us today. He's very experienced. Fortinet, from a partnership perspective with Powernet, has just been tremendous for us. We really believe in the security fabric that they put around their solutions and we've been able to help, like I said, businesses across all types of verticals, education, government agencies. So they've been a great partner to have. They have very, very strong engineering staff, and so that's why our engineering and design team believes in Fortinet. They've seen, the success on how it works, how the client gets a single pane of view on the FortiOS, and the management's very easy. So we're going to talk about what Fortinet SD-WAN is and how it kind of stacks up against some of the other SD-WAN providers. Then we'll talk about, a couple customer successes where we've, Jeff and Powernet have helped the clients deploy these types of solutions and what it really meant for the client. And then, of course, what's in it for you in the channel and how you benefit from it as well. And then we'll go a little bit into some questions to ask, some things, some problems, end user problems that we can address with the Fortinet SD-WAN, and then how you start that conversation. And again, and we'll talk a little bit more about this at the end. If you've sold SD-WAN in the past, you're probably comfortable with that. But if you've not, it's a very high demand in the current environment. So if you've not sold it before, we can help you. We'll provide you this information on today's call, but don't feel like that's the end. So if you have a client that you identify as an SD-WAN opportunity and you're not fully comfortable having that full conversation, contact myself or your channel manager, Jason or Nolan, and we'll be sure to get the right people involved to get on that call and work through the client and make sure it's a good fit for them. So we're always here to help. And now I'm going to switch you over to Jeff for the SD-WAN portion, and take it away. Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Brian. So initially, SD-WAN was introduced simply to provide lightweight replacement of traditional routers, as well as to simplify the overall management and operational complexity at the WAN edge. However, it quickly became clear that really it needed to be far more than that. A driving factor there really was the adoption of more and more SaaS applications, Office 365, Salesforce, Box, just to name a few. And as companies were moving to these SaaS applications, what we were seeing is the user experience began to deteriorate. At this point, we realized that local internet breakout at each branch office needed to be introduced in order to handle all of this. However, that also presented new security concerns that needed to be addressed. So ultimately, the solution was to integrate security with SD-WAN. And in doing so, Fortinet pioneered secure SD-WAN. Next slide, please, Brian. So since its inception, our secure SD-WAN solution has been adopted by many global service providers and over 21,000 customers, as you can see on the slide. Fortinet's also in the top 3 revenue and market share, and we're growing very quickly as we continue to invest a lot more into this solution set. Fortinet also introduced the world's first secure SD-WAN ASIC. So Fortinet is known for being an engineering company and a security company. We have far more engineers than Salesforce or any other folks in the company. So we have a lot of patents on a variety of ASICs. And the reason that it's important to know that we have the patented SD-WAN ASICs chip is because that's where we can do a lot of the extra enhancements and keep performance high for SD-WAN, because at the end of the day, it's all about user experience, and we want that user experience to be positive. And then the last point on this slide is that Fortinet's one of the most recognized secure SD-WAN vendors amongst our competition. We're consistently rated well in Gartner Magic Quadrant, as well as NSS Labs. And I've got a slide later on, and we'll discuss NSS Labs a bit more. So the FortiGate firewall and FortiOS are at the core of our SD-WAN solution. Advanced security functionalities such as next generation firewall, malware detection, and IPS have always been part of the FortiGate. Additionally, FortiOS has always supported advanced networking features, including dynamic routing, multicast, IPv4 and v6, support, for various flexible deployments for unique network topologies. A broad product portfolio built on an operating system that supports virtual and physical appliances makes this solution ideal for any deployment, size, and scale. So with centralized management, the complexity of configuring, provisioning, and control is offered in a single pane of glass console, further reducing the complexity. So complete network and security visibility provide quick resolution of network issues, and advanced telemetry ensures application performance is monitored and business policies are consistently fine-tuned based on all the analytics that you're going to get out of that solution. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned before, Fortinet continues to really invest and innovate into our SD-WAN solution. It's one of our fastest growing solution sets. And as I mentioned, FortiOS is one of the key components of this. So to date, we have far over 5,000 applications that we have visibility into. These application signatures are regularly updated by FortiGuard so that the customer has visibility into all these latest apps. And when you're speaking of SD-WAN, this is incredibly important because one of the key features of SD-WAN is to be able to steer your applications to however you want to use your bandwidth. Multipath intelligence is important for specifying the SLAs for each application and for monitoring the health of apps. We made some big SD-WAN jumps as of 6.0. We're now in the 6.4 train, but back in 6.0, we enabled the ability to use multiple SLA strategies. And again, this is important when you're thinking about getting granular. For example, you may want to set an SLA for your voice application, which is going to be very important, to act a certain way. Always ride your main bandwidth, but have an SLA to fail over to the second if your link starts to deteriorate. On the flip side, you may have other traffic, such as maybe your guest network, that you want to always prefer maybe your less preferred network pipe. Maybe it's less bandwidth, less quality, what have you. So there's various reasons, right? Maybe you want to run YouTube or Facebook out that, but you want to ensure that your video and voice always have priority. So you can get very granular and very creative on how you're going to deal with that. Next, we've done a lot. We continue to enhance all the monitoring that you're going to get out of SD-WAN. So jumping into the firewall or FortiManager, which are our management solution, we've added a lot of graphs and just a lot of data that you can see just from the GUI, very easily to see, so that you can monitor all of these links and truly understand what's happening, what those links look like, what your applications are doing, how they're performing on these various links as well. And then most importantly, and I'll keep stressing this, is that Fortinet has been certified not only for SD-WAN, but also for security by NSS Labs. Next slide, please. So this slide is a less than subtle reminder to remind everyone on this call that SD-WAN is included with all of the Fortinet firewalls. So every FortiGate, from our entry level up to the enterprise level FortiGate, has SD-WAN built in. There's no additional licensing required to use SD-WAN. So this means if you or your clients have a FortiGate firewall, you have SD-WAN. It's just a matter of configuring it and setting it up. And as I'll show here in a moment, that's going to make a huge difference on the TCO of our SD-WAN solution. Next slide, please. So I've mentioned NSS Labs a few times. And here's why I do so. NSS Labs is an independent third-party testing entity. Most people, we do look at Gartner, and we rate very well in Gartner too. But the reason when I talk about SD-WAN, NSS Labs was the first entity, the first independent testing company to really do a full SD-WAN test. They used enterprise grade type of traffic. And as you can see here on the left, they put a lot of different vendors through the paces to see how they would perform. And again, this is not pay to play. And as you can see here, we measured very well for the quality of experience, that's the QoE, quality of experience for VoIP, video, and then certainly the total cost of ownership is far lower than all of our competitors. Now, why does this matter? Well, when you talk about SD-WAN, there's generally two important factors that people are going after. They want to improve the quality of their voice and video, and they want to cut WAN costs. So you can see from this, from these testing results that, we're going to show really high in those areas that your clients are going to be looking to solve problems in. So when it comes to competition for SD-WAN, the water's pretty muddy. Everyone's going to say they're the best, right? That's what everyone does. But hopefully the last slide shows you some third-party independent testing, but also there is a lot of difference in these solutions. So we've got, as you can see here from the top of the slide, we've got networking players, we've got the traditional next generation firewall players, pure play, we've got WAN optimization, and then we've got managed services all for SD-WAN. And how do they vary? Well, I'll tell you at a very high level, even on the security vendors, the difference is how they're doing security and how granular that security is. And I would put the Fortinet solution against any of them because, again, our SD-WAN is part of the firewall. It's been integrated from day one. So with a lot of the security vendors, SD-WAN is really, it's a feature, not a full solution. So the problem there is that it's not going to be as feature rich. And even if they do have those features, they're not going to be as robust. Then on the other end of the spectrum, you're going to have your pure play vendors, and many of those don't even offer security as part of the SD-WAN solution at all. So at that point, you're going to another manufacturer to handle your security, which is then creating gaps and complexity of management. And then you've got the folks in the middle that some of these folks are going to offer security, but it's going to be a separate entity. It's either going to be a cloud solution or a separate appliance to where they can bolt on some security onto SD-WAN. But all of these are going to raise the complexity and ultimately raise the cost of your solution versus having it fully integrated with Fortinet. Next slide, please. So here we have a case study, as you can see, from Waste Management. And I'm going to read these notes that the customer provided to us as if I'm the customer, because I feel that's most impactful. So the first thing we mentioned was that we drastically reduced our cost. We moved from a 28 million annual cost for telecom to 8 million. Over the course of a 5-year project plan, we spent less than 20 million to save 100 million. Look into your telecom costs, and I believe you'll find opportunity to fund any projects if you have an agreement that's over 3 years old. Next, performance. We increased the average performance by 13x per site, and some experienced a 20x increase in performance. And as a result, we have far less issues caused by internet saturation. Operations. We were able to bring operations in-house. Centralized management and full visibility was key to bringing operations in-house and maintaining our uptime SLAs. Also, the network and security teams now work closer than they ever have before, and as a result, we're seeing a reduced number of SDWAN tickets. And last, ultimately, our employees are happier with the experience. And I think this, and I'll speak to this, I think this is the most important. When I showed you the NSS Labs thing, we talk about quality of experience. When we think about IT, really it comes down to the user experience. If the users aren't happy, they're going to cause problems for IT. They're going to cause problems for the vendors, and so on and so forth. So we need to make sure these systems are working well at the user level, not only working well for the company, right? Because that's obvious. We're all trying to do that every day. So this is what they said about the customer or the employee experience. We as an IT team had a major cultural win as well. We proved we could implement change at scale that would both save the company money while improving the overall performance of the network. These opportunities to add business value at this degree don't come as often as we would like to see. Next slide, please. So as a key takeaway, there's no doubt that in today's businesses, we're relying on secure SD-WAN technologies, and Fortinet's there to provide just that with the best-in-breed integrated SD-WAN networking and security capabilities in a single device, which reduces the total cost of ownership. All FortiGates are SD-WAN ready, as I mentioned before, anywhere from our entry level to our enterprise. If you have a firewall from From Fortinet, it is SD-WAN ready. Enhancements in SD-WAN capabilities and the latest FortiOS software make FortiGate the market share leader in enterprise branch security. Our WAN path controller allows customers to efficiently distribute applications per WAN link while maintaining these performance SLAs. Then if you add FortiManager and FortiDeploy into the mix, this enables distributed enterprises to simplify their infrastructures, reduce WAN costs, and securely provide their users with direct access to public cloud, data center, and SaaS services they need to successfully compete in today's digital economy. With that, I'll hand it back to you, Brian.
Great. Thank you, Jeff. Really appreciate you going through that for us and our channel team. Yeah, just a couple things on what Jeff touched on was, clients are always looking for lower costs. If they've got an MPLS network or, something of that nature, some more technology, this is a no-brainer, slam dunk. We've done plenty of transitions from MPLS to a network topology that relies on SD-WAN. And of course, the FortiGate solution is just ideal because it's a single, like you said, it's a single appliance. So rather than buying an SD-WAN solution, SD-WAN box to go along with a firewall box as well, this is integrated all together. So it communicates very efficiently. And it's just a better solution to have them baked in as well. And Fortinet's come just a long way on the SD-WAN side. So they started, long before some of these other companies, and they've really just done a tremendous job developing that FortiOS, so the clients can very easily take their traffic and say, this is my number one. We have to have good voice quality. This is my number two. We have to have a clean connection to Salesforce, and just go down the line. And as these companies move everything to the cloud, all these as a service applications, two key things come up is the clarity and operational success of the network, which really touches on the SD-WAN piece, and security. So with a lot of hacking and increased things on the security side with attacks and different things like that, to have that all in a single solution is just a tremendous value point for the client. One of the things we'll touch on here from the Powernet side with the Fortinet solution is that, if the customer's in a position where they would rather pay on a monthly basis versus a capital expenditure, we have the flexibility internally to take those solutions and provide them on a monthly basis. So we can be flexible. That's one of the things of being a smaller privately held company, is we get things done faster. We can be more flexible. So we can work with your clients from that standpoint. And then, of course, from the channel perspective, what that gives you is that assurance of that ongoing residual commission. So rather than getting it all in a single hit, which we can do that as well, we can do the CapEx model, no problem. We can help you guarantee the residual commissions through the life of the term, and then through any renewals or beyond the life of the term. So, and then the great thing about the Fortinet solution is we have that support team in place in our Florida offices and in our Cincinnati offices, who are very well versed. We have, I'm trying to remember what the last count was on the number of people we have Fortinet certified up to. It's like an SSE level, but just tremendous resources, very familiar with Fortinet, so we can work with the clients and really help them deploy this and show them the advantages of that deployment. So why, and we touched on this a little bit, Jeff touched on this as well, is that you automatically gain some cost savings by having the security and the SD-WAN in a single solution. So, and then of course on the legacy MPLS networks or point-to-points, things like that, those are very costly, and you have to rely on dedicated connections. With the SD-WAN, you can maybe do a dedicated connection and then throw a broadband in there as well, and still get that class of service with the forward error correction, with the network healing, and all the things that SD-WAN does. You get better performance with lower costs from a network and circuit standpoint. And then peace of mind. The clients are always concerned about they've either been attacked or hacked in the past, or a great likelihood that they could be. So we want to make sure that we put a solution in place that's going to rely on best of breed security. With we'll do automatic patching, automatic updates, take care of all those things for the client so that they can have that peace of mind going forward. And then from a channel standpoint as well, is just there's a lot of companies out there who can benefit from this SD-WAN solution. So it's definitely a hot product at this point. And the great thing about Powernet and our relationship with Fortinet is, we can help them with that, but then we can, like I said, we can help them on a number of different fronts from a technology standpoint, and really just kind of bring it all together and make it cohesive and simplify it for them. A little bit about the types of clients: multi-site, branches, any branches, and you'll see that with banking. Of course, you have branches all over different areas. Same with retail and healthcare. You could have, a main hospital, but then they have, throughout the metropolitan area, they have different clinics. And so it's just a perfect fit for those type of organizations. And, it really allows them to be, have that security posture that's going to make sure that their network is locked down. And then with the SD-WAN, to make sure the network is optimized for all the different as a service solutions, or internet access or data sharing that they need to do. And then education is another one as well. You've got a main campus, you have branch campuses, and they all need to communicate efficiently. So just a few clients that we've deployed Fortinet SD-WAN for. And then as far as identifying SD-WAN opportunities, we've touched on this a little bit. The great thing about SD-WAN is it, very, very near plug and play. Everybody says it's plug and play, but we really like to hold the hand of the customer. So, but as far as expansions, opening up a new office, it really is. It's very simple. We'll configure the box, send it out to them, and it's very easy. Whereas with MPLS, you have to order a circuit or a point-to-point or whatever the case may be, and it really allows them to grow and scale quickly versus longer time frames. And then of course, you've got with all the different applications now that businesses are accessing online, different dips into Google and Microsoft 365. They've perhaps seen some degradation in speed and things like that. So SD-WAN will really help shore that up and make sure they're optimizing their connections. And of course, from a diversity and backup on that front, just the SD-WAN works tremendous. Is if you bring one provider in with, say, a 500 meg circuit, and then you come in with a local broadband or some other lower speed connection. That way, you aggregate the bandwidth, but then if one or the other has an outage, the client is not down hard. So all the traffic can just jump up over to the other connection if there's a cut or a network outage on a particular provider. So it really gives them that redundancy, peace of mind from that standpoint as well. And then, they're just businesses looking to really get a better hold on their network management. Like we said, the Forta OS is a very clean, easy to use interface for the IT, so they can easily, say this traffic is prioritizing that traffic. They can see where there's issues with a particular broadband connection or some other connection, and it's all right there. So it allows them to make decisions quickly, to get Powernet involved quickly if there's an issue, and we can help them with that. A few personnel, and it's really going to come down to either someone in the technology side of a business or someone in the financial side of the business, and we can talk to both of those, and we can work through that with you if we need to have conversations and make the client feel good about the solution that we're presenting, whether that whether security is a big issue for them, or they're looking to upgrade their network or expand, and they don't want to continue with the old network topology they have. We can work through all that with them and with you and the client, and just make sure that everyone feels good about where we're going from go forward. A few scoping questions. These are good to bring to the table when you come to us with an opportunity. It's not required that we have to have all these answered. We can work with the client and you as well, but it just gives you a good idea of how to kind of perhaps start some conversations, and you can obviously adjust these to what you're comfortable with. But just a few key points that are going to help us get a scope of the project overall and really what their pain points are, so that when we do get on a call, we can talk to that and make sure we prioritize, and we know that this would be a nice to have versus this is what we're really struggling with. That way, when we do get on a call with your potential client, we can make sure that we're addressing what their real problems are at the moment, and make sure that we prioritize those accordingly. So any network outages, difficulty with latency on voice, or difficulty with latency on as a service cloud-based applications, we can address all those types of things. These are some questions that we've seen come across through the channel, as far as what if a customer already has MPLS? Well, if they're contracted, we should certainly, depending on the type of contracts that's remaining, but if it's under a year, we can start those conversations, so we can prepare for designing and showing them what it would look like once that contract is up. But like I said, we've done multiple transitions from clients with MPLS to a solution that's kind of either dedicated broadband mix with the SD-WAN, or even some smaller customers where they're just getting like a couple dedicated a couple broadband connections, or using 4G or whatnot, and we can bring that bandwidth together, combine those with the Fortinet SD-WAN, and give them a more robust solution. Jeff, if you could maybe talk to number 2. I think I understand what the answer is, but I think you would be better at addressing that.
Sure. So how are lower quality broadband circuits made to be more reliable? Well, when you're using SD-WAN, essentially what you're doing is you're creating VPN tunnels over these links. Now you're limited by how much bandwidth is on those circuits, right? You have to work within those constraints. But what you're going to do with the different features of SD-WAN is you're going to create that VPN tunnel, for security reasons, but then you've got SLAs and you're going to be monitoring the circuit the entire time. So for these different types of traffic, you can set different standards to say, hey, you know, the criteria for the quality of this link has to be so good, or I don't want to send the traffic over this link, in which case maybe you'll send it over another link. So even if it's, say, like a local cable provider that, you know, isn't going to be typically as reliable as what you would expect from a major carrier with an MPLS link, you have all these tools such as SLAs and all these monitoring tools that you allow SD-WAN to automatically say, hey, we're going to use this link unless this happens, unless it degrades so far, or certainly if it goes down. And it's able to move all that traffic, even voice, video, what have you. It will seamlessly move that traffic to another link within the SD-WAN setup, to where, you know, your quality of experience is still a positive one, even if you do have a lower quality link that's causing you problems.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And then as far as justifying additional cost of SD-WAN, I think it's a matter of kind of laying out the scale here and saying, okay, yes, it's going to cost us more to purchase this SD-WAN on a monthly or upfront basis, but then what problems is it solving for us from a cost of doing business standpoint? You know, if we have a network outage, you know, what is the cost of that versus, you know, having SD-WAN with a multiple provider connection, aggregating that bandwidth and staying up versus having that network outage. So, and then the other things you can weigh is the security. Obviously with Fortinet, they are, you know, best of breed from a security standpoint. So with a firewall that has SD-WAN built in, you know, then you're protecting yourself. So the cost of the SD-WAN is really outweighed by all the cost of, you know, what could happen from a security standpoint, what could happen from a network outage standpoint. And so it's really just about having that conversation with the client and figuring out the different problems that we can solve, the headaches we can eliminate for them to really justify that additional cost. And in some cases, you know, it's not, you know, like with a legacy MPLS network, we're, you know, like I said, it's a slam dunk. You've got, just like Jeff's customer success stories, you're immediately ridding yourself of that old legacy technology, very costly. And so, you know, many times it's not an additional cost. We're actually saving them a tremendous amount of money. And then, you know, Jeff, do you want to talk to number 4 as well?
Sure. So can SD-WAN help organizations meet compliance standards? Well, absolutely. With the different monitoring tools and things like that, you can certainly set thresholds, first of all, to meet, again, your SLAs, but more importantly, with the monitoring, like with FortiManager or FortiAnalyzer, these other products that are part of the Fabric portfolio, you can actually run reports that are, you know, PCI or HIPAA or things like that to make sure that your network is continuing to be, you know, meet these different specifications. And the security that's going to be bolted around this entire solution is certainly going to meet all of those different criteria on a regular basis. But the good news is you can continue to monitor to those standards.
Awesome. So I touched on this a little bit, you know, that we're here, we have been channel focused really since 6 months into the company being founded. So we're all about the channel. That's what we're here to help. So anything we can provide from an engineering standpoint, from getting you know, the right people on a call with the client, to marketing materials, to additional training on other products, you know, please reach out, and I'll bring up the channel team here in a second. Most of you are familiar with them, but just to make sure, but that's what we're here for, is we're here to support you in the channel, and anything we can do, you know, we look forward to doing that. So Penny leads our channel team. She's our VP of Channel and Strategic Alliances. Jason is based in Utah. He kind of handles everything basically west of the Mississippi River. And then Nolan's based in the Tampa St. Pete area, and he'll handle anything kind of on the eastern seaboard and to the Mississippi. So that's the channel team today. And then I support those folks. So please reach out. Again, if we need to do anything to help you through these through a particular client opportunity, we're always willing to help and get the right people involved. So I'm going to pull up the chat. We are still taking questions. One second here. Let's see. And Jeff, I'm going to read, I don't know if you can see them, but I'm going to read. Do we support call continuity? The TCO is very different than all of the competitors. What specifically accounts for that?
Sure. So the first, I can't see the question. So the first part of that question is, do you support call continuity? Absolutely. That's a big part of why we have these SLAs that you set on a per application basis. So the idea that if a link starts to deteriorate or fail, we can move that voice over to the other link seamlessly. So it's very slick. So yes, because that's obviously a huge need, right? For all companies, voice is part of the major heartbeat of a business. So the second part, the total cost of ownership is very different than the competitors. Yes, it is. And the major contributing factor to that, there's two. So I'll start with the lesser obvious, and that is that Fortinet being an engineering company, we have a ton of patents. We create a lot of our own technology, a lot of our own ASICs. I mentioned the SD-WAN purposed ASIC that we invented. But what that translates to is our Fortinet firewalls for performance compared to our competitors are far less expensive. Why is that? Well, we're creating our own chips instead of writing six-figure checks to, say, Intel or AMD every month, like all of our competitors are. So we'll start with our firewalls are less expensive. The second piece of that would be we don't have SD-WAN licensing. You're not paying for licensing based on users or bandwidth or anything like that. We just don't have any licensing model like that. So there's a huge savings right there.
Great, thank you. That's a key point, is that the SD-WAN is baked in, and really the firewall is sized based on the number of users, but there's no additional licensing to turn up or to activate the SD-WAN.
Mm-hmm. So the next question I see here is, what year were the FortiGate devices first SD-WAN ready? So I'd have to, to look at the versions of code, that's really how I'd answer that question. So technically speaking, in FortiOS 5.6 is when we started to promote and market, hey, we have SD-WAN, and that would have been in 2017. But being an engineer myself, I would tell you that it's really 2018, because that's when 6.0 came out, and we just made leaps and bounds in our development in our SD-WAN solution in 6.0. So I would say Q1 of 2018 is realistically when I would say as an engineer, we had a fully baked SD-WAN feature set in the firewalls. Let's see, so compared to VeloCloud and Meraki, how do we position your solution? I actually have some battle cards that I can dig up and send to Powernet to help answer that question. But on the surface, the answer is quality of the security controls and the granularity there. We're going to beat VeloCloud and Meraki on security all day long. Meraki, so I came from Avar. I've sold a lot of these other manufacturers, and Meraki is a slick solution for sure, built to be cloud ready from day one. They have a nice interface. However, the security is really light. I mean, it's a lot lighter than, say, Firepower, which is Cisco's big firewall. However, when you look at third-party testing, the FortiGate security surpasses firepower. So the security is going to be much better to start with. And then again, from the total cost of ownership piece, we're going to blow them away. But again, I do have some battle cards on that I can share with Powernet that they can distribute out.
Okay, great. And we'll just make sure, just send those over to Tyler, and we'll make sure when we send out the recording that we'll include those as well. Thanks, Jeff.
Mm-hmm. So the last question about a channel portal, Fortinet definitely has a portal, and yes, that's where battle cards and pricing and all that stuff is. But I don't know if that question's truly for me or for Powernet.
We're in the middle of a revamp on our channel portal, but really it's just a simple reach out to Jason or Nolan, and we have all those materials at the ready, and we can certainly help them. And if we need to co-brand, we've done that before as well. So very available. Just reach out to your channel manager.
But Brian, I would also add, we can send along with the presentation. This is Penny. Along with the presentation, we can send the battle cards and stuff out to the folks that were asking on the webinar, so that you have that as well. So as a complete package.
Absolutely. Okay, we got a new question from Al. Do you charge by bandwidth or by managed services? So let's see.
I think, Brian, I was going to say that to do that, the size of the Fortinet device is going to be by bandwidth.
Right.
And that goes along with, if we're managing that for you as well, it's going by the size of the bandwidth that we're putting in.
Right. And then if we're doing managed services, then it would come down to the number of different devices that we're managing for them. Thanks, Al.
And I do have just a question for Fortinet, just to ask you, so I'm not on there, but for the group and how you're sizing this on bandwidth, do you do that sizing like from the circuit? Is it the 1-for-1 consumption? So how do you size the firewall for the bandwidth when you're doing this?
So if you look at our data sheets for a particular firewall, there's a few different bandwidths that are published. And I always go off the smallest published number because that has the most features turned on for testing. And unlike other manufacturers, we can prove that those numbers are real. They've been proven in third-party testing. So don't believe what some people will say, oh, that's all greenfield. It's not. Those are real. So I start with the smallest published number. And then if we're going to do SSL inspection, I will make sure we have, say, 15% of clearance there as well, because that's going to add some overhead. And I'll say 15% is a great number because some of our competitors take up to an 85% hit for SSL inspection. So it's still a consideration. It just doesn't mean you're going to have to move to a box 3 times bigger. And then, and if you're going to have multiple circuits going into the same firewall, obviously you just how much bandwidth you're going to have, and consider SSL inspection in there as well. The one other thing that I consider when I'm sizing a firewall is the number of users, which is the number of concurrent connections. And for rough math as an engineer, I assume that every user is going to say be 500 sessions. And the reason I'll take that into consideration is, especially in some of these small offices, you may have low bandwidth to make you say, oh, well, I can get a really small firewall, but what if they've got 500 users? It's rare that you have high users and low bandwidth in today's business, but it does happen. And if it does, the concurrent connections on the data sheet is a number you need to look at as well.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And then one other question that kind of came up is, if you have, say you've got a SD-WAN and you're just using the Fortinet for the SD-WAN, can you upgrade that later for the firewall and security? So that
absolutely, it's just a matter of adding the licensing for whatever features you want, which those come in bundles or a la carte.
That would just be adding the UTM then for the security.
Yeah, the UTM bundle or the enterprise bundle. I mean, there's about
Mhm.
4 different bundles, but yeah.
Okay.
Or I've seen cases where people just want to use it for IPS or just for web filtering or what have you, because sometimes there's situations, right, where a lot of customers are paying for third-party web filters and things like that, and they don't necessarily want to pay for the FortiGate to be a web filter if they're already paying for somebody else. But when that somebody else is up for contract renewal, then they may go, wait a second, now maybe I'll move it over. So that's where
Yeah.
the a la carte pieces come into play.
Yeah. Okay. If a customer, we had Joe sent a question about a customer with just a single cable, 300 by 20. Is that like a 60F? Is that like what size would that typically grab?
Let me pull up the product matrix. Believe it or not, I don't have every firewall in their throughput memorized. So 300. A 40F would
40F.
be more than enough.
Okay. Yep.
And I say that, Joe, because the 40F has the threat protect throughput, which again is the smallest published throughput number on our data sheet for the 40F, shows it 600 meg. So you would have a lot of growth even in that box. But our next step down is the 30E, and it's only 150, so it wouldn't quite do the job.
Okay.
And
And then-
Brian, generally, we're looking at 40 to 60 minimum anyways to get them to make sure that they know if it's any size business doing that
Yeah.
for growth. Yeah.
Yeah. And then kind of, coming in against someone like Ariaka or Fat Pipes, is it really the security play that's going to separate the Fortinet solution from a SD-WAN standpoint?
That is going to be the biggest differentiator, is the security. But when you really start to get into the weeds, you're also going to find that the feature set is going to be more robust as well.
Right. Okay. Great. All right. So 500 by 200 is probably, if it's still cable broadband, you're still looking to be in that 40 to 60 range. Yeah.
Yep.
So Joe, if you've got a couple clients that are looking for that, we can certainly price those firewalls out for you. And like Jeff was saying, the SD-WAN is built in, so you'll get all that. They'll get all that forward error correction to get the very most out of that broadband connection for their business.
Yeah, I encourage everybody on the call. You can just Google Fortinet FortiGate product matrix, or I guess it's Fortinet product matrix. You can Google it, first link. You can download it. There's a new product matrix published every month. It doesn't have all of our firewalls or all of our products for sure, but it's got our most common firewalls. And it's a great way to quickly size firewalls, as well as a few other products that are in there.
Okay. I'm going to just bring this page back up just in case anybody needed to reach out to one of the, and then, so I think he was also asking is adding up the bandwidth. So if it's 500 down, 200 up, it's not really considered necessarily a 700 meg.
No, that's not how bandwidth should be calculated.
Okay. All right, great. Jeff, we're just under an hour here, so we appreciate everybody's patience hanging with us, and hopefully you got something out of this, and we can start having some additional conversations with your clients. Really appreciate you coming on, Jeff, and kind of talking through the technical side of things, and just know out there in the channel, we're here to support. We have engineers who are extremely versed in the Fortinet solution. They can talk on a technical level if we need to get there for the client or the internal IT person that's making the decision. So we are always here to help. Just reach out, and we appreciate it, Jeff. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Have a great day.